Veritas Files here. This is a video response to George for Title, or as he's now called, Inflation.us. Normally I wouldn't do a video like this, but George put out a video the other day that was just beyond ridiculous, and I felt like I had to respond. I just couldn't help myself. And let me preface this by saying that I do like George. I mean, he's a little corrupted and pretty quirky, but I think he's a well-meaning and nice guy. So this isn't to be taken as a personal attack against George, though I do think his video was absolutely moronic. Also, I'm not trying to be condescending, so if you guys disagree with me, let me know. Most of these things I've reflected on a great deal, and I'm willing to go toe-to-toe on most of these issues, so let me know and we can talk it out and see where we stand at the end. But George's video had to do with silver and gold and trimming down your lifestyle and kind of living on your fat reserves and not worrying so much about food or food storage. Let me just take it in two parts. First we'll deal with the gold and silver, and then we'll deal with the food stuff. If you are saving or investing in gold and silver as a way to preserve your wealth, as a way to protect yourself against hyperinflation, then you want to avoid or ignore or do the opposite of whatever George said. George essentially said that he buys and sells it, right? He's trying to time the market and make money. If that's what you're going to do, okay, that's your choice. But if you're really trying to save and protect yourself against hyperinflation, don't try to time the market. Unless you're a professional, don't do that. Don't be an idiot. I can just imagine a situation where George sells his gold and silver, or a good proportion of it, right at the time when he needs it. Don't let that happen to you. If you're going to save it, save it. He also bought a vehicle and electronic equipment for his YouTube channel. Folks, don't do that. I mean, you know, I'm tempted to say that this is common sense, but obviously it's not. Don't use right now, folks, we are not in the crisis, okay? Not in it proper. Now, has it started? Yes. But has it really started in earnest? No. In other words, you still have food, you still have gas, you still have power in your home, there's no civil unrest, everything is as it should be. We still have and enjoy the rule of law. Take advantage of it while it's here. If you are investing in gold and silver, then you need to save it for the crisis. For the crisis in earnest. You need to save it for when gas is $12 a gallon or more, for when buying a loaf of bread and a few things of soup or rice or flour or sugar costs you a week's paycheck, or for when the luxuries that we've grown to depend on are no longer available and you have to barter for them. Save it for those times. Doing anything else is simply stupid. It's short-sighted at the very least, and stupid at most. If you really feel like you need to use your gold and silver because you don't have a lot of money, like yours truly, then use it in a productive way. Divide it into 3 piles, or at least 2 piles. Buy silver every single pay period. I would do primarily Eagles, but I would also buy junk silver. When you have enough silver Eagles in good condition in a tube that you can trade for something like a 10th ounce gold Eagle, then trade it. That's what I do. There's no way I can afford 100 to 120 bucks a pop or more to buy a 10th ounce piece of gold. And I certainly can't afford $1,000 or more to buy a full ounce. So trade it then for gold, right? But always make sure you're adding to your silver supply. In other words, you get one thing of silver, keep it. 2 things of silver, trade 1. Build it back up to 2 things of silver, keep it. 3 things of silver, trade 1, so forth and so on. That is a way of using your silver or your precious metals in a productive way. Buying vehicles with it, buying other things with it that you could do by simply saving up cash is not a good idea. The last thing was that George essentially said he's not worried about storing food because he thinks that after the collapse, everybody's going to be growing food. Now, George is right to a certain degree, but I don't know if he thinks he's only talking to people that live in California where the weather is always nice. But a huge proportion of America, I'd say somewhere on the order of 180 to 230 million people, don't live in areas where food can be grown year-round. And to think that the average person who has probably less than an acre lot can grow enough food to sustain them and their family for even half a year is crazy. There are people who have done it, and it can be done in certain areas of the country, especially if you have a green thumb and if that's all you're going to do. But it's very, very difficult. Nigh unto impossible, okay? You can mitigate your food expenses, but you cannot get rid of them simply by gardening. If you are not putting up food, if you think you're going to live on fat reserves during the 2 to 5 year transition period that I think will ensue immediately after the collapse, you're crazy. And so George's advice there is absolutely insane. You need to put up food. You need to make sure you have all the basic staples. And yes, you need to start a survival garden, recession garden, whatever you want to call it. But growing some tomatoes, planting some pepper plants, and potatoes in a barrel are not going to sustain you for several months through the winter. October, November, December, January, February, March. You can't grow during those times. You can extend the season a little bit in certain areas of the country where you can put up greenhouses. But during a collapse, the things that you're going to need to be able to grow gardens of any size, the specific fertilizers and herbicides and whatnot, they are not necessarily going to be available, and if they are, you're not necessarily going to be able to afford them. Nor do you know if you're going to have running water or power. And for those people living in California that think everything's great, I don't know if they're aware, but that state's going through a drought. Same thing for Texas. Various parts of the United States are going through a drought. We are not necessarily going to have running water or power for significant periods of time after the collapse. There's going to be a transition period, and if you're not thinking ahead and running yourself mentally through various scenarios of survival, you're making a mistake. And if you listen to George's video, if you listen to his video from a few days ago, and you take any of that advice other than maybe reducing the cost of your lifestyle, you're crazy. You're underestimating the disaster that may ensue. When people say follow the old adage, prepare for the worst and hope for the best, they mean exactly that. They don't mean, oh, well, I live in California, therefore everybody can grow food here, therefore I don't need to put up food. I think I'll be a moron. That's not what they mean. They mean really prepare for the worst. I don't know if he remembers the LA riots, but they were pretty bad. And if you find yourself in that situation, you're not going to be growing food anytime soon. So, folks, I don't know what to tell you. Take this advice for what it's worth. Don't listen to George when he's being silly. And use your common sense. Prepare for what's coming. Thanks a lot.